Canada is expensive, between only slightly dropping rent, grocery prices that will only go higher thanks to tariffs, and taxes that nobody likes.
The cost of living making it harder to get by and leaving little hope for the future.
We talk about possibly leaving Canada.
It's easy to feel like you'll never make it, but some Canadians aren't that worried about cost of living. So what's their secret? Higher salaries, lower taxes, or just better value for the money? Let's cut through the noise, look at raw numbers, and take a tour around Canada and find out which province and city actually pays the best. So we all are drawn to the promise of a fat paycheck, right? Well, according to the Statistics Canada, Northern Territories, Nunavut, and Yukon enjoyed the highest income in Canada, with the average household income tax well over $100K. So does that mean that we all should go up north? Hold off on packing your bags. Harsh climate, remote location, and poor infrastructure are a huge drawback for many. And besides, have you ever heard of any millionaire from up north? Actually, let's see. Looking through this list of richest people in Canada, well, let's just say that none of these are from anywhere up north. So what else then? Alberta, Ontario, BC. This is the Golden Province triad for when we talk about top earning provinces. And if we look at the statistics, you see some pretty good numbers, and all of them are after tax. 98, 95, 91K in BC. These days, many young people actually dream of moving to Alberta because income numbers seem high and home prices seem lower. But hold on, if income alone is the main driver in today's society, why isn't everybody moving to Alberta? It should be the most populous province by now. The reality hits like a -30 prairie wind. Alberta's sky-high salaries often hinge on oil and gas, a sector famous for booms and busts and layoffs. So that 98K after tax won't be comforting when crude oil prices crash. Sure, Calgary homes are cheaper than Toronto's, but did you consider utility costs, highest in the nation, or country's highest auto insurance premiums, or the cost of a truck, which is a practically mandatory thing in Alberta? A lifestyle also plays a big role, and no PST is great, until you realize that underfunded public services are a trade-off for that. So the truth is that money is just one variable in the life equation. People don't just chase opportunity, but also community, lifestyle, and security. So before you pack up for your move anywhere, ask yourself, are you chasing a paycheck or a life? Because the provinces with the richest people aren't always the richest for living. After all, Alberta earns more, but also battles higher divorce and suicide rates. But here's one metric that I want to draw our attention in this video: the income compared to the actual cost of living. It's one thing to land a high-paying job, but if your salary disappears the moment that your rent hits your bank account, is it really high-paying? And we all dream of owning a home one day, so let's talk about housing affordability too. Let's start with the big cities. A shiny 95K salary in Toronto can quickly vanish when you're shelling out $2,500 a month for a tiny apartment. Vancouver, well, forget it. Most people are sharing apartments well into their 30s and 40s just to survive there. But you already knew that. The thing is that it is no longer just the big cities. Everything is completely overpriced, and salaries are not catching up at all. Smaller towns surrounding the Big Five are feeling the pressure. So the old idea of just move outside the city for a better life, it's already become a myth. So the big question is, where can you still find that sweet spot? A place where your salary actually means something, and you're not sacrificing quality of life just to make rent. First of all, based on our spreadsheet analysis, we have a list of provinces that you probably want to avoid. We're talking about these. Let me explain. Nova Scotia has become a popular destination in the last 5 years. And guess what happens when everyone wants in? Prices skyrocket. Rent goes up, but salaries aren't always climbing nearly as fast. Nova Scotia launched Canada-wide remote work campaign during the pandemic, which lured remote workers in with its gorgeous landscapes. And what happened? Six-figure income tech workers moved in, and housing costs went up. That put the pressure on Nova Scotia residents whose salaries haven't quite caught up to the six-figure mark yet. We actually have a friend who had to move to Nova Scotia as part of her PhD program. And the funny part is that she couldn't leave fast enough once her school was done. And her main reasons? Cost of living to income ratio. Prince Edward Island rarely gets a lot of love. It is officially the poorest province in Canada and is gorgeous, with some of the kindest people living there. Its economy is largely agricultural, which only means one thing: lower salaries. And since PEI is an island, the cost of everything is higher because it's an island. So shipping things to the island is more expensive too. Look at the average house costs. These prices are not uncommon in the GTA. So we've talked about really high costs of living up north. And one of the reasons for that is that everything there is at least 30% more expensive. So your 117K is closer to 80K in more connected provinces. The cost of housing here are also insane. So where can you go if you want to actually keep more of what you make? Well, let's talk about these provinces. These top our list for affordability. We've initially eliminated Alberta, but mainly because of Calgary and even Edmonton. But there are still some little Albertan gems that could be reasonable. Red Deer and Medicine Hat, for instance. Red Deer's median income is higher than Alberta's average, and it's located almost perfectly between Calgary and Edmonton. And the cool thing about Medicine Hat is that residents there pay less for utilities, some of the lowest in the province, because the city owns its gas utility, letting them control the utility prices. The allure of Alberta is typically low tax. With sales tax at just 5%, you get to save about $60 to $100 more for every $1,000 that you spend. These savings quickly get eaten up by higher insurance and utility costs that we've mentioned earlier. Saskatchewan is the new Alberta. While Albertans pay more and more, Saskatoon and Regina quietly offer affordable housing and some of the lowest unemployment rates. And don't let the lower than average income deter you. This province feeds 40% of the world's lentils and controls 30% of global potash supply, which is a vital fertilizer. It literally feeds not just the country, but the world. Not to mention its strong uranium industry. And if you're in tech, there's something to consider. Ag tech in Saskatchewan is quietly making some really impressive breakthroughs, like drought-resistant crop development and autonomous farming. The only catch is that you'll really want to love winter. What if I told you that Canada's best-kept secret isn't out west or in booming Ontario, but hiding in plain sight in New Brunswick? This province doesn't get the attention it deserves, in my opinion. The salaries might not look as appealing with seemingly the lowest average income compared to other provinces and territories, but it offers affordable homes, cheaper groceries, and a quality of life that doesn't demand a six-figure salary just to keep up. But I'm afraid not for long. If you're interested in New Brunswick, St. John hosts the country's major shipping port that's just been expanded to support direct Europe and Asia routes and reduce reliance on US trucks. Rather timely in the current trade climate. The next province never leaves you indifferent. You either hate it or love it. We've covered Quebec extensively in our videos, and I lived in Montreal for 10 years before moving to Ontario. So Quebec will always have a special place in my heart. Even though I moved to Ontario for better opportunities and higher income, that did not deter us from ranking the province of Quebec absolute first as the best province of Canada in this video we made recently. And it's not our personal opinion, it's pure data talking. Check it out if you want to dig deeper. Looking at these numbers, Montreal is a bit of an outlier, and Gatineau is unjustifiably expensive. But everything else provides not just one of the best income to cost of living ratios, but also work-life balance. And I know what you're gonna say, but the taxes in Quebec are too high. Well, fair point. But here's the thing, the numbers still make sense. For the right demographic, those higher taxes actually go towards things that matter. Things like affordable childcare, subsidized education, cheaper utilities, and lower tuition fees. So yeah, you might pay a bit more upfront, but in many ways you get a whole lot more back. So these are our findings. We haven't focused much on Northwest Territories, BC, Ontario, Newfoundland, Labrador, and Manitoba much. That's because there's not much to say about them, strictly speaking from the income to cost of living ratio analysis. If we exclude the city outliers like Toronto and Vancouver, where life is outrageously expensive, the rest is just average, since high income is compensated by proportionally expensive housing and living expenses. Now, that is not to say that these provinces have nothing to offer. On the contrary, Newfoundland and Labrador, for instance, have marvelous, untouched nature and the kindest people in Canada. If you're looking for your next home or want to explore something new, we hope that this video helps you wrap your head around your financials. Obviously, it's not just all about money at the end of the day. Lifestyle is what many chase when moving to a new home. So let us know if you want us to explore what lifestyles different provinces in Canada can offer. As for a personal take, if you're new to Canada, you don't get to choose much. That's the reality. So I recommend to choose the place where you can find a job fast, and ideally, it's also well paid. If you've been living in Canada all your life but feel like changing the scenery, ask yourself why. What is it that doesn't quite feel right where you live? Follow your gut. Finding the right balance is a personal journey in the end of the day. Do your research. Create a budget. Talk to people who actually live in the places that you're considering. Reddit is a nice platform to ask questions like this. Just remember that among all good and bad opinions you hear, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. Canada is a big place, and life is expensive right now, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. Do your research and go make that change. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful for you, please tap the like button below and subscribe to our content. It really helps YouTube know that you like our content and more people should see it. And let us know in the comments what province do you think offers the best balance between salary and cost of living. And if you'd like to go an extra mile to support the work that we do, you can join us as a YouTube member. Thank you to our current members. Your support means a lot to us. And don't forget to check out our merch shop for some good Canadian goodies. Check out the link below. See you in the next video. Take care.